Be strong.
Welcome back to Crypto for Freedom, where we talk about gaining financial freedom through the cryptocurrency markets. Today, we're going to be talking about Dogecoin, Bitcoin, and the Dogecoin Bitcoin 7-year cycle theory. Make sure to stick around to the end of the video to hear about the 7-year cycle theory. All right, let's dive in. With Bitcoin bouncing off its long-term trend line here at 112,000, support that's been going all the way back to December of 2022, the market is looking to turn around and turn this fear into greed. Now, with Bitcoin attempting to find support on this long-term trend line, Dogecoin has made a bounce off its own trend line itself and is starting to recover and looking to head higher. Now, you guys, being in this market, it's all about delayed gratification and holding for the long term. That way you can have financial freedom. Now, I know we all have things that we need in our everyday lives, and that's okay to get them if you need them. But stuff like a TV and other stuff like that, it's like you might as well buy Bitcoin or Dogecoin and delay that. And if you absolutely need it, you don't buy your TV down here at this trend line. You buy your TV up here at this trend line, okay? That's where you want to buy your TV. All right, so we wait for Dogecoin to bounce around here and then come back up. Then you get your TV, and then we're all happy. Okay, anyways, we're looking for that move for Dogecoin to come back up to the top of this trend line with the Bitcoin reversal happening right now in front of our eyes. We're going to see what happens next. I believe that it's going to take a long time for all these chart patterns to play out, and we must hold our convictions and our plays and be ready to move into the next part of the Bitcoin 4-year cycle. Now, zooming out on the weekly chart for Dogecoin, it looks like Dogecoin is continuing to find higher lows and higher highs. And in my opinion, the price is going to continue up into the end of the 4-year cycle to make a blow off top up here somewhere. We got to make it into this next red box, into the next accumulation zone, in my opinion, before the cycle is over. Now, you had a long time to accumulate Dogecoin back in 2017 in this red box all the way to 2020. If you would have accumulated that whole time and held through this bull run, you'd be a lot higher by the time we got to this next red box. You'd be substantially in the profit. Same is true for if you accumulated in this area. You want to hold till we get up to this next red box, okay? Now, it's tricky to be able to hold that long. A lot of people they kind of underestimate how long 4 years actually really is. And it's really hard to make it through all these little dips and pumps and dips. It's very volatile. There's a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt. A lot of news articles coming out. It's really hard to make it through all these little pumps. So that's why, in my opinion, the best thing to do is to just buy and hold for the long term rather than try to trade in and out of your positions. In my experience, I've ended up with less coins after trying to trade either long or short or try to buy in and out of positions. That's why I've kind of come to the conclusion that just buying dollar cost averaging on a weekly basis, daily, monthly, whatever you can, whatever your strategy is and whatever you can afford is the best really strategy out there. It's just DCA on a consistent basis. And then having your emergency fund and your income is going to protect your assets so you don't have to sell in case of these market volatility dumps. It's really easy for us to let our emotions get the best of us in these market volatile times, especially when it's dumping or if we've invested more than we can afford to lose and then the price dumps 50% and then all of a sudden we're like, well, dang, how am I going to pay my rent? Or how am I going to pay how am I going to pay our water bill and stuff like that, So that's why it's so important to have that emergency fund. That's why it's so important to not invest with money you can't afford to lose, i.e. your rent money, your light bill money, your car payment, that kind of stuff. All the extra money each month, that's what you should be putting into Dogecoin and Bitcoin. And we need to be trying to get up to this next red box, you guys, up here. Okay, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for this next accumulation zone for Dogecoin to be somewhere up here between $2.75. And, why shouldn't it go that high? Where Dogecoin is finally going to, hopefully see a breakout above $1, above $3 and head up to an exponential growth. With that being said, I want to take a look at this 7-year cycle theory that I've been talking about. Okay, you guys, when Dogecoin first dropped down here, the Dogecoin Bitcoin trading pair was very volatile. Okay, Dogecoin was gaining a lot of value against Bitcoin and then dropping rapidly against Bitcoin. During this pump against the US dollar, it dropped at the same time it dropped against Bitcoin against the US dollar. Okay, from there, the US dollar, this was your accumulation zone right here. This is where you were supposed to accumulate, right? Down here. And you can see that Dogecoin against Bitcoin was still very volatile, having big moves up and down, okay? And then you can see, this is what I was talking about yesterday. You can see that halfway through this 7-year period, 128 bars, this should be 360, yeah, 360 bars here to the end of this. 182 bars. This was the first peak right here. And I had a line drawn here yesterday, but I took it out because I wanted you guys to see. But, that lines up halfway with this peak right here. And then the next peak was a lower high against Bitcoin. So here's the peak against Bitcoin, and then it came up against US dollar to make a higher high, but against Bitcoin it made a lower high. And then took 7 years making lower highs consistently against Bitcoin to finally break out of this channel. And that happened in 2021 when we saw that exponential gain of like 30,000%, okay? Now, I'm just a little concerned here that we've already saw 184 bars and that coincided with this peak right here, which, that's right here, right? And we could draw the vertical line again right here. That's halfway through 184 bars. And we saw a peak, first peak, and then a first peak, okay? Now, if Dogecoin comes back up to this trend line right here against Bitcoin, and then Dogecoin USD comes up and make a higher high, that's where I'm going to be really considering trading a lot of my Dogecoin for Bitcoin. Because in my opinion, the trend is your friend into the end. And so far it's following the same pattern in the first 7 years of its history. So at this point, I'm going to be ready to trade my Dogecoin for Bitcoin. And then we're going to see Bitcoin start to outperform again. And then that's where the accumulation phase comes in. Once that valuation of Dogecoin to Bitcoin starts to drop and starts to fade, that's where we can start accumulating again in the next bear market. Okay, and then finally after 7 years, so that's after 7 years from this breakout, right? So we're talking 28, 28, 29. Then we'll finally see a higher high against Bitcoin in the next altcoin season. I mean, to me, I'm just reading the charts and this is what it looks like. So I have to do what's best for my family and so do you. And I think what's best for my family is being Bitcoin heavy until I see a reason that Doge is going to outperform Bitcoin. And right now, I'm not really seeing a huge reason why Doge is going to outperform Bitcoin. But I still do believe in Dogecoin. Don't get me wrong. I still hold it. It's 30% of my portfolio. But Bitcoin is my number one holding at 60%. You guys got to figure out what's best to do for your own portfolios, for your own families. I just want to come on here and give you information, give you my opinion, give you my thoughts. That way, hopefully you can take that in and do what you need to do with it. You always have to do your own research, and none of this is financial advice. Never invest more than you can afford to lose, okay? And if you guys like the video, please like and subscribe. It would mean a lot to me. Leave your thoughts down below in the comments. I just grew 104 subscribers in the last 10 days, so I really appreciate all the support, you guys. And with that, we're gonna see you guys on the next video. Peace.